Hello, welcome back. Thank you for being here and thank you for continuing to come and watch my videos. Um, so I'm kind of in this quiet space and I'm trying to get the last of the sunlight before the sun goes down. But a lot has been going on. Well, I can't really say a lot has been going on. It's been like a really, really quiet period for me and probably a lot of those who have been on their ascended journey. This in between, this quiet space. I don't even know why I'm feel like I'm talking solo too. That's just like how quiet it is. Um, but anyway, I got a lot of thoughts going on, so hopefully I can bring them all in. And a couple videos I've already done on the 9-year cycle, and kind of looking back and saying, "Oh my God, that was like 9 years ago that I really started this journey, not really realizing that it was beginning then in year one, 2017, and now is coming to an end. And the life I had back then and the life I'm living now is just like totally different. It's like so, like I live in a building with so many people, but it's like, it's so weird. I don't know. Anyway, um, that's what I said. There's been like these few days where things have been like super quiet. And I feel like, you know, that I say the quiet before the storm. And I know that there's going to be some kind of big intervention coming from the divine very soon. That's the feeling I'm picking up because it's been too quiet and just getting subtle signs here and there. But anyway, this whole video is about putting the pieces together and kind of sitting in this quietness and saying, wow, 9 years ago, when my father in spirit said to me, um, he gave me all these instructions to, go back to psychic school to bring my skills back out because they had been suppressed. And to do this, to do that, that you're going to quit your Wall Street job and to eventually go to the New Hampshire, Maine border and didn't know what that meant, but I knew I had to get there. And then there was this guy who came into like a reading session I was having with a bunch of other people. And he says, like, I have to do a reading for you. And said that you're going to be doing work with homeless women. And I didn't know what that meant. I know I've told this story before, didn't know what that meant. I'm like, okay, I have a whole lot of clothes I don't use for working on Wall Street, suits and pantsuits and dresses and handbags and you name it. I had excess of those things. Um, got 9 big garbage bags and dumped everything in, took it to a homeless shelter. First time I had even been to a homeless shelter. And was really surprised, how well maintained it was. So I'm like, okay, that's what he meant. He meant I was supposed to donate some clothes. And then all of a sudden in 2020, my whole life is turned upside down where, the pandemic hit and I was kind of taken out of my home. What I thought I was going to be doing was turned upside down, topsy-turvy, and lost everything that I had. Was really practically penniless and had to get out of the house of a family member that was being super abusive and ended up in a homeless shelter. So, kind of all this. And then, if you've been following my journey too, which if you go to the other playlists, you'll see. my whole journey as far as getting up here to Maine and again becoming homeless and having to go to a shelter again and saying, now I get it. Okay. What he was talking about, what my purpose is. So I wanted to say to you that before, as clarity comes in, I always thought someone's purpose on their ascension journey may have something to do with something they already have excelled at. So, for instance, um, if you have a beautiful voice, you may use that voice to help others, to heal others in that way. And yes, that is true. Um, if you have some other kind of skill that, you know, helps the world in some way, you may use that to help others. That doesn't always mean that those are going to be ones going through the work of their ascension in this lifetime. I've come to understand that we are assigned things that are going to be our life's work that we have probably nothing to do with in our first life. Because remember, I always say you're having, use my voice, having two lives within one lifetime. My first life, I had nothing to do with homelessness, right? And all of a sudden, this journey, I was totally exposed to all these things. And now becoming an advocate for the homeless. So, all this to say that what you probably end up doing after your ascension is going to be something you probably never had any inclination towards before. Not to say that every single one of us, but I have that feeling. In order for soul growth, your soul is not going to take what it has already known and continue that. My soul had to grow over these last 5 years by going through what I went through to understand that there's those without, as we know, without homes, who have food insecurities. Um, the basic things of life, many people go without. And I know we talk about this on the news, we talk about it at length, and, the homeless issues and this and that. But to actually understand it and to experience it, I truly believe that if you are on this journey, you're going to go through something that in your first life, as I say, you're having two lives within one lifetime, you had nothing to do with that particular cause or whatever it may be. Um, just trying to think of some examples. Um, you like for me, I I have glaucoma, so it could be a fact of having to deal with something like that, where you never had that before, now all of a sudden you do, and maybe becoming an advocate for glaucoma. I don't know, I'm just pulling things out, but just understanding that it's going to be something probably that you never had anything to do with in your first life. But you're going to take the skills that you learned in your first life, right? Because now you're going into your second life after your ascension, the skills that you developed in that first life and use them to do whatever it is that is your soul's purpose in the second life. So, for instance, I was a corporate trainer. I had to learn how to do public speaking. I also, within that, in training, you learn to kind of put everything together. I worked in finance, I have an accounting background, taking all those skills, people skills, things like that, working with, um, clients, taking all those attributes that I have and now putting that into the work that I'm about to getting ready to do as far as becoming an advocate for um, homelessness, in particular for women. The thing is, trying to motivate women, having been in shelters, there's many women who accept that as their life. And I remember a young girl, the first time I had gone in, and she was only about 24, 25. And I remember saying to her, I said, a lot of these other women here are going to continue to repeat this cycle because you can stay in for so long and then you have to kind of remove yourself. You either have to have received like Section 8 housing or find your own apartment or get on your feet in some way, get a job. But a lot of these women are going to continue to allow the system to take care of them. I said, you who have a college degree, um, who have the motivation and skills and who's making good money before this, have the, like I say, the skills and knowledge and understanding to get back on your feet, just as I know I will too. And it's true. She actually ended up leaving about 2 weeks before I left, was able to get her own apartment and start her new life. So it's kind of like motivating women to say, like, you can do better for yourself. So that's what I'm about to take on. And I just wanted to come on here to say that understand that whatever the divine has you um, taking on as your purpose is going to take some of the skills that you previously had, but it may have nothing to do with anything that you've ever experienced or have done in your first life. Also, there's probably going to be a relocation. As you can see, I'm from the New Jersey, New York area, and here I somehow arrived in Maine, something I had visited before, but many, many years ago, talking decades. Never thought I would end up living here. But we are all destined to be in a particular place for a particular reason. So understand those two things. Number one, that what you're probably going to do as your life's purpose in your second lifetime after your ascension journey is going to be something totally different than you've ever done. And then, second, is you probably are going to relocate to a totally different place that is totally different than where, again, losing my voice, than where you were brought up or familiar with. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. And again, I'm just putting these pieces together and the reason why Spirit has told me to tell my story, told me to tell my story to you guys, to help you to understand um, how to um, figure out different things because, like, I still didn't understand many things, aspects of this until I actually experienced it. So helping you guys along the way. So when you come up into a certain point and you're like, oh yeah, Marilyn did mention something like that. All right, I'm gonna leave it there. Have a great evening, and I will see you next time.